Good morning.
Hello, hello.
Hi, how's everybody doing today? Good. We are good. We are so excited. We are so honored to be here to talk about color. We love color. So we are so excited to be a part of today. We are going to be talking about embracing authenticity through color, a journey of self-expression and confidence. And we are going to walk through 4 different case studies or projects that we've worked on and talk through how our clients' personalities were able to be highlighted in space. So first things first, I'm Rachel Nelson. I'm the CEO and principal designer here at Concetti. A little bit about my background. Believe it or not, at 16 years old, I said I'm going to be an interior designer. Shout out to my mom in the crowd. Hey, Vicki Nelson.
Hey.
For being incredibly supportive of that decision. But I haven't wavered since, and tomorrow I turn 38, you guys. So 22 years. I was like, I'm gonna be a designer, and it's happening. So I went to Kendall College of Art and Design on the west side of the state, and from there had a couple different jobs in the industry, from working in kitchen and bath space to contractors, being the designer on staff, to custom mill workshops and showrooms, and got to the point where I was like, I have a vision for how a design studio could exist, and we are going to create a company that is all about empowering our clients to be the biggest, boldest versions of themselves. And here we are today. We turned 10 years old in November of this year. So yeah, exciting stuff. All these applause, like, girl, you're used to this.
Little fan club, we love it.
Yeah.
And I am Kaitlyn Volpe. I am a senior designer with Concetti. I also received my bachelor in fine arts with a focus in interiors from Kendall College. So we've got that little KCAD twinsy thing going on. My career started a little unconventionally. So I began in trend forecasting, and I was able to create a foundation of knowledge based in research, psychology, generational studies, and now that has informed the way that I approach interior design. So we're going to touch on a little bit of that today as well. And now I'm happily a part of the team with Concetti.
And we are happy to have her.
Aw, thanks, girl.
All right. Who are we? So Concetti is an interior design strategy studio located in Detroit. We are in the Island View neighborhood of Detroit, which, for those who are unfamiliar, is the east side, and we're between Belle Isle and Indian Village, if you will. We actually are a team of 11, and we have 7 of us as interior designers on the team, and we have an incredible support team that I got to shout out in the back. We have Madeline Phillip, Emily Gilbert, and our newest intern, Emma. We are an awesome support team for our designers. So thank you guys for all your hard work today. But Concetti truly is born out of the desire to do design differently. And so we are interior design strategists. So we are here to really merge our left and right brain thinking. Working with an interior designer, you are going to expect that we create a beautiful space. More importantly to us is how can we be a good partner to you throughout this process. So we dream big and we really get into the creative side of our minds, but we also make sure that we are equally thinking through strategy, budget, who's on the team, timeline, how do we get you to the finish line? Because you can dream all day, but can you execute? So at Concetti, we have a promise made to our clients to be the advocate to them that we so take a lot of pride in being, is a promise being we make sure every client feels seen and heard. We do what we say we will. We never impose our style on you, and we're here to bring your vision to life. So we really do like to view ourselves as partners and our clients as co-creators. So we are not here to be a dictatorship. This is what you should do in your home. I saw this really cool idea and I think you should do it. I have my own house to do all my own crazy ideas. We are here to hold space for clients to make sure that we are allowing them to have all the room to just be who they are. Tell us what holidays look like. Tell us what a Friday night looks like. Tell us about your dog's favorite toys, what books your daughter's into, et cetera, because we want to soak it all in. The more we can learn who you are, the more we can help you step into your authenticity. And ladies and gentlemen, color is one of the best ways to do that. So knowing that the design process can be overwhelming, we have the secret sauce, my friends. We are all about synthesizing a complex process down into 3 phases. The first phase is the vision. And this is where we really, truly take the time to get to know our clients. So
it's an investigative process. So we go through the discovery phase and we interview you and we involve all of the senses that are outside of technical design. What smells do you gravitate to? What sorts of things do you like to touch and feel? All of that is part of how we get to know you. And then we can interpret all of that yummy knowledge into creating your concept.
Yes. And when we create your concept, once we know what drives you, what your goals are, how many people are we sitting, what's the look, feel, touch, like what are the vibes of the space, then we create 3D prototypes of what your space could be. And it is a conversation. So in the beginning, we say you have a little homework. You got to bring the personality. As soon as we absorb that, we're going to step into our power as your design partners and create design solutions that are achieving the goals we set up to achieve.
And it's always a conversation. So you are being presented with multiple concepts that can be merged together, or maybe you gravitate towards one specifically, but we want the input of the client. That's the most important key to this phase development.
We always say, you can't hurt my feelings, just don't call me names, you know? So if this isn't
Unless it's
resonating.
like, sweetie, call him that.
So at the end of phase 1, the vision is identified. Then we go into what we call our phase 2. That's really where we're putting on the analytical side. What's the scope of work? Who's doing it? What's the timeline? Let's put out bid requests. And we're really taking the time to do our due diligence, gather all the information, and look at it together. At the end of phase 2, our goal is that our T's are crossed, our I's are dotted. We know who's doing what. We know how much things are. Everything has been specified, every paint color, every rug, every light bulb.
Every light bulb.
Don't forget.
Every rug pad, every light bulb.
Yeah, you can't tell. I'm always like, don't forget the pad. At the end of phase 2, we do have a really clear plan. And phase 3 is when you actually start to see your space transform.
And we're able to celebrate it too. So we've taken you through the vision and the plan. And in phase 3, we lovingly pass the torch onto professional partners, because as Rachel always says, we don't want to be the ones swinging the sledgehammer.
More importantly, you don't want us to be the ones swinging the sledgehammers. Or building your sofas.
Right. But we will provide you with a partnership to get you there and make the actual concept come to life.
Exactly. So in phase 3, you're going to see us at site visits. You're going to see us meeting with the painter, the electrician, telling them to move it over half an inch to the left. And they're going to be like, really? And we'll say, really?
Really?
Yeah. Down to attending window treatment installations, wallpaper installations, furniture. We will literally select the bath towels and put them up on your towel bars. When starting Concetti, took the time to do some market research. And one of the biggest things people said was like, I have the vision, but like when all the furniture comes, I worked with a designer to get a vision, but when the furniture comes, I didn't quite know how to stage it or what to put on the coffee table. So we literally will style I've organized a spice drawer, people. So we will go from start to finish with you in whatever way that we can be a lift. All right. So let's talk about color, what we're all here to do today.
Yeah, Concetti's approach to color is incredibly unique because it's psychologically based. So when we begin the process with you, we want you to boldly and bravely tell us, I love lime green, or I love black. I don't care what the rules say. This is what I like. This is what I wear. I dress myself in this. I do my nails like this, and I want it in my space because it feels authentic to me. And what's interesting is we're constantly being influenced by trends around us. It's subconscious. So we see them in social media, we see them in magazines. It's constantly in our life. And so we already know what we like. We have confidence in what we're drawn to. So we pull that out of you and we dissect it, get all the information, and help you translate it in your space. And color is a really important part of that puzzle.
Absolutely. And so knowing that color trends are all around us, we're all on socials likely or magazines online, and we're looking at color and being inundated with images. And one of the biggest pieces of advice I give anybody when they're like, where do I start? Is self-awareness. Just be aware of the things you gravitate towards. And it's spring, right? We're all picking out flowers likely. What flower colors do you gravitate towards? Are you the classic red and white and yellow? Love it. Are you into more of the deep fuchsias with a pop of that corally color? That's me.
Do you want a gothic garden and it's all dark purple and black?
Just don't worry about what colors you should do or this is classic. Like when you are entering into a space full of different options, where does your eye go? Is it the lavender purple? Is it the magenta purple? Is it the classic purple? Just start to realize what you naturally go to before that little voice says, oh, that's too much.
Yeah, and break the boundaries. There are no rules to what makes you happy. So having the self-awareness of what you're drawn to is giving yourself permission to live around those colors.
Yes.
It's an endorphin driver.
Yeah.
It's going to constantly bring you joy.
One of the other things that's such a simple thing, but again, an exercise in self-awareness is you're like, you go to get your nails done, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, that color's so cool. Oh, but I don't know if I can do it. Like, why can't you?
Do it. It's only on there for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Fine.
try it.
Yeah.
Or, perhaps that's not your outlet for that type of color, but maybe you do continue to gravitate towards that neon green or blue or taupe. It doesn't have to be a bright color, but if you just start to notice what it is you first gravitate towards, it's incredibly powerful. And then take that exercise onto socials when you're scrolling and you see a photo and you're like, oh my gosh, that dress is so beautiful. Or I love their use of, I love that cobalt blue sofa. All of that is okay. Just notice it. And if it was something that really sparks joy in you, I sound like Marie Kondo. But,
she was onto something though.
She was onto something, but it is self-awareness. So authenticity begins with self-awareness. Aw, look at that cute puppy
Look at that
dog.
baby. A squish.
And that's me. Color is personal. That's my house. Okay. So color is personal. Color is something that you have strong likes around color from a young age. Think about it. One of the things kids ask you, what's your favorite color?
Yeah.
When you're young, right? It's one of the first things we identify with. Well, I have this vivid memory when I was at the zoo when I was about 5 years old. I think it was the Toledo Zoo, but I don't remember when I was 5. And I remember seeing a peacock spread its feathers and literally following it and being like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Like I couldn't get those colors out of my head. Fast forward 30 something years later, I'm designing my living room.
Voila.
What? I didn't mean to do it. Okay. But it was funny. I was like looking at the colors and I was like, oh my God, I just designed a peacock room. I didn't mean to do it, but it happened. And this might not be for you. Because that's the thing, be you in your space. But people who know me are like, this is Rachel in a room, okay? But I have always loved that green that you see on that sectional since my first internship in college. And it's Osborne and Little. And I was like, I'm obsessed with that green. One day I will have that in my house. So when it really came time for me to fully be able to design a room the way I wanted it to, lo and behold, we ended up having a green sectional. And the thing is my mother-in-law goes, green? Rachel, you don't want a green sectional. And I said, watch me.
You have to quiet all the noise.
Yeah.
You have to like not allow what
Yeah.
other people's opinions are and just hold it true to you. That green sectional is you. It's an embodiment of your personality.
And I couldn't just have a green sectional without a beautiful peacock blue backdrop. Again, I didn't intentionally do this. I wasn't like a peacock extrapolated into space. The realization came after, but it just goes to show at 5 years old, I was gravitating towards the same color 30 years later. You know, it's really interesting. Here you guys can see, I didn't just do the walls in this peacock blue, they're in the pillows. I did this incredible fringe light by a designer called Regina Andrew, which is a Detroit designer brand. Also the drapery panels, I color matched to the walls, and the custom wainscoting behind the sofa is also blue. So like went in.
We leaned in.
I think another thing that's really important and is I love this picture to the left where you can see the black and, well, I guess you see the black and white rug really, really well. I've always loved strong graphic black and white. And so it was like a non-negotiable. These are things that I love, that I gravitate towards, and then making sure that I was able to just embrace it and do it in a way that felt good to me. So we have color on the walls, we have it on drapery, we have it on pillows, we have it on sectionals. The black and white in the rug kind of cools things. I'm gonna go back because you have the black and white graphic on the floor with a white ceiling, kind of sandwiches everything, and the color saturation is in the middle. But color can be brought into your space in all the different nooks and crannies. You can see that little snake plant on the end table is a dark green, and then it has like a chartreuse green edge. All of the elements in the room bring color. It doesn't just have to be the paint on the walls. So let's go into some clients that we were able to work with, and we are going to talk through their space, their finished photos, and how they utilized color. And we have 4 very different examples, okay? So we call this project It's Given Glam. This is Russ and Chris. We were so lucky to be able to work with them on their lakefront home out in Fenton. A little bit of backstory, because we do take the time to get to know our clients and understand the motives. One of the first things we ask clients is like, why? Why did you call us? Why are you reaching out? How can I help you? And so being that Chris was retiring, that they had 2 amazing daughters, one of them newly married, starting a family, the other one in college, and they were entering their empty nester era. And if she's going to be home and not be in the office every day, it was time to really breathe new life into their space. One thing that was evident with Chris and Russ from the beginning is there is no fear in the use of color, that they want a statement. They want to go to that purple that has been a repeating theme that they currently had, but want it done differently. And there were some specific art pieces that were a non-negotiable, that were like, these I love. I love the color in them. I want to look at them, and let's figure out how to incorporate them into the design. So we ended up designing their entire first floor, from the foyer, living room, kitchen, dining, and in the center of the room, there's actually a 4-sided fireplace, which is beautiful. It's floating. Point being, though, is that you can see that they definitely did not shy away from color. And this was such a fun project because that art was a non-negotiable that needed to be displayed. It was something we found together, but once we found it, it clicked in for the entire color palette of the space. That beautiful purple sectional from CAI. I got to tell you, Russ was a little hesitant on. We went back and forth, though, with a couple different renderings, with a couple different color swatches, and I kid you not, it was next door at CAI. He goes, purple is the right color. And I was like, yeah, it is, Russ. Yeah, it is. But they really were able to step into their authenticity with color through artwork, through the furniture, through the wall color. Here's a little bit of a more close-up image of the artwork. And
What's interesting about starting with a piece of artwork that you relate to as well is it can be full of a whole spectrum of color. And that can use as a keystone for you to pull into your space. So the purple sofa is directly derived from a swatch inside of that painting. And that painting allows you to be wild. It is bold. It creates a huge amount of emphasis and it emboldens the space to be just all the personality.
absolutely. So knowing that this art was bold, was vibrant, it was finding, and you can see so much of the paint strokes in there, that deep purple were pulled directly into that sectional. You can see the gorgeous orchid on that coffee table with that fuchsia color running through it. And then I love the close-up of the faux fur blanket having all the same colors. So it's interesting, again, what you love and you gravitate towards, you're going to continue to love and gravitate towards. And as designers, this was something, as soon as I knew this color palette, this was the direction, this is what felt good, it was like finding these pieces that are going to use the same colors, but in a different way. So do color on walls, furniture, art, and accessories. Here's the bar area, which was really beautiful. And again, the project's called It's Giving Glam. Chris wants a glam moment. This is innate and a part of her personality. And so finding opportunities to do it in their home. I think one of the biggest things that Kaitlyn and I were talking about in preparation for today is like, color is in materiality. So often we're like, color on paint, color in a pillow. It's purple, it's Roy G. Biv.
We think of it in a really traditional sense, but
Yeah.
color comes through wood stain, it comes through metal, and it is a color in the space. So here you're able to see a beautiful deco example of that literally as part of the palette. So those color tones are also in the artwork and they serve as color in the space.
Agreed.
So it doesn't just need to be paint, it can be a lot of things.
Agreed. I think the other thing that's really cool here is that antiqued mirror tile also reflects the color that's being used. So you don't have to invite more color in. Perhaps you reflect what you have going on. Dining space. This was one of my favorite spaces in their home. That artwork that you see in the image on the left was original to their home. They said this, when we entered the project in the partnership with them, they were like, okay, but I really love this art. I don't care where it goes, but I want it to have a home in this main living space. So we ended up doing custom millwork behind it, painting that navy blue color, and found a home for that art on that wall. But as Kaitlyn just mentioned, that can be the keystone, right, for the project. And so the area rug, are you kidding me, looks like the artwork. It was the perfect piece to find. And again, this might not be your style and what you gravitate towards, but you can see that there definitely was consistency in the client and what they were loving, and it feels authentic to them. That's one of the coolest things when Chris was having company over and they were entertaining. She's like, oh my gosh, everyone's like, this is so you. And how beautiful is that to have a space that is a direct extension of who you are.
Yes.
And you're welcoming.
Yeah, entirely the goal. And that's the highest compliment a client can feel, is that it's an interpretation of their personality and they're living in that environment.
You are welcoming people into your home. It should feel like an extension of you and like you just wrap them up. One of my favorite things is this orchid.
Yes, bringing color in through nature is vital, whether it's vegetal, greenery, or actual color through florals. Be faux or actually living, depending on if you can keep them alive. It is essential to sprinkle throughout the entire space. So the more the better with this, because it provides a different layer of color that's very dynamic and feels soft and organic.
So we'll move into the bedroom, which was her birthday gift to herself. I loved, let's take notes. Said, I like this. Okay, great. I want a new room for my birthday too. So there was some existing pieces that they had already invested in. And so it was just breathing new life into the furniture set. So the bed and the nightstands in that artwork, she really gravitated towards, and it being so vibrant we were trying to cool it down. So we definitely found that having the paint stripe, that horizontal paint stripe across the room, was an opportunity below the artwork to just kind of ground it. There's some architectural reasons we broke the paint line up there. You can see it just skirts right underneath those windows. And then it allows a white to go into the tray ceiling and that really cool wallpaper, which is a neutral, but bringing in a lot of a unique pattern in there. But I got to tell you that this space was a little difficult to figure out how to interpret that artwork in a way that still felt like a balancing act of everything. And when we found that pillow and the throw blanket that we actually sewed two of them together to make it like an actual full length for a king bed. That pattern was an opportunity to pull some of those warm colors down and then using the bedding behind it to contrast it. So really utilizing the color palette that Chris is innately drawn to, but balancing it with this beautiful deep blue to help create a more serene environment. I love this. Again, it's giving glam, people. So this beautiful bench here, which is also from CAI with some awesome fabric vendors from other showrooms here at the Design Center. But this is a really beautiful opportunity to bring in some glam and to use layering. So you can see you have the velvet bench, you have this like orange and aubergine textured bolster pillow with the deep blue that you find in the custom pillows, but then that a little bit of that white relief that we just talked about in the tray ceiling with that faux fur. So making sure that as you're looking at the whole picture here, color, don't be afraid to layer it and add in different elements because it all comes back to, look at how that bench brought the warmth from the three above down to the bed and over. So you can be bold and just be open to interpreting that color through different layers. Last thing is, this is the other side of their bedroom. There's this arched piece here, and you can see that blue, instead of going up the wall, is about 2/3 up the wall, but we did carry the blue inside of the arch with that antique mirrored glass. Here's a close-up of the custom marble with that beautiful ottoman below it. And I think the point here is, again, they're neutrals, and they sometimes by going quieter, you make a bigger statement, right? So it was really being careful about when and how we pulled the color in, and to do it in a way that actually can accentuate architectural elements.
And you're elevating the space through luxurious textures. So with marble and this high-low fabric on the ottoman and the mercurial glass, you are not necessarily using an impactful color, but it is a texture that has a tint of a color in it, and it's a supporting character to the overall palette.
Agreed. So now that we've been able to go through this client's home, who they are, where they were in their life, and how we work together to identify color as an opportunity to be authentic in space, let's start to actually, let's hand the mic over to our trending expert.
Right. What was that space? Well, it was truly their own unique environment. We are, as we mentioned earlier, constantly influenced by trends, but something that Concetti does really well is they break the mold of trends and they apply several different iterations of that within the space to support what the client loves. So if you were you really liked that style, it spoke to you, you want to know more about it, a term you could use is maximalism. So we're seeing maximalism be a resurgence in our design world. This was a perfect example of how to do maximalism in a modern way. So technically, maximalism is usually traditional, neoclassical, Victorian, Gothic, and people could afford to get hand-painted silk wallpapers, and they had access to really rare pigmented color. But now maximalism has become more accessible to the masses. We can get temporary peel and stick wallpaper, put it all over our house, and create an elevated maximalist experience. So what we just saw here, and it's giving glam, is a literal evolution of the maximalist trend, but in a modern interpretation. So it's a more is more psychology. The theory is layer every pattern, include every color, make your antiques and the things you've collected on the way be the star of the show. Do not be afraid to just create so many layers in your space that it creates a sort of like experiential, fantastical environment. So we want to, along the way, as we look at our case studies, show you a little bit of education on how you might be able to find more details of that design style.
Absolutely. And again, this is an opportunity for, if that is resonating with you, when you are on Pinterest or Instagram or whatever, perhaps search maximalism interiors and see if you're on the right path to get inspired. But it really comes down to, is that in alignment with who you are?
Exactly.
All right, we ready for the next case study? We're about to get even funkier. You thought that was funky? Hold on. So this is actually a condo in Detroit on the waterfront. This was a young couple who were actually expecting their first baby. So they were already living in this building and purchased this larger condo, and we redid everything. All the bathrooms, kitchens, everything. So some major renovations in preparation for baby. But they really wanted to, they were at the point in their life where I always giggle. People come to us in the point of their life where like, I'm ready for grown-up furniture.
Yeah.
I'm like, we got you.
But still edgy and funky, but a little elevated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting when people turn to invest in their home, it's usually at critical points, like in their life, like just got married or expecting a baby, or on the opposite end, I am empty nester and I am ready to reclaim my space. So anyways, point being is we call this hype on stripes. This client came to us with this really bold, beautiful inspiration images that were a strong use of neutral patterns, a lot of white and black, with some really quirky, unique pops of color and a focus on artwork. And so starting to get to know them a level deeper, they loved their cats and they love Star Wars. And you'll see some of that sprinkled in there, but we focused more on showing you imagery that really highlighted use of color. So welcome to their space. Talk about some really beautiful opportunities for pops of color and graphics on the artwork. But this, again, being a condo, had an open floor plan. And one of the first things we did was they were like, okay, we're going to need a kitchen if we're going to have a family. And the kitchen was just in that little corner. If you see that gold tube, that's the exhaust hood actually, but the kitchen was actually more walled off in that corner. And we actually tore those walls down and put a large center island and extended over to get them even a hidden pantry and all these things. But
it's a perfect example of that there are no longer rules to interior design. They painted their entire kitchen black. This entire experience is something so off the wall that you hardly ever see. But our job is to say, okay, you like this, we're going to embolden you to do it and do it well. And it is executed in a gorgeous way. Yeah.
That's where we really, want to hear all your hopes and dreams and then bring the expertise and the prototype of what it could be. And I can't even tell you the confidence builder it is when people see renderings and they're like, oh yeah, I want that. And it really gives them the courage. So let's look at some more of these quirky details. The pillow was theirs existing, my friends. But I'm telling you, we had some quirky details. A clear coffee table, the accents with the black hands being a bookends. We really wanted to use some of the pieces that they already had that felt avant-garde, that felt like them in their space. We took a lot of that inspiration into the kitchen here. You can see how we extended across that entire area. And by painting it all black, because black is a color, I'm Yeah, I get it. Like, is it not literally, but in space, it's the perfect backdrop for a really beautiful cobalt blue. But by painting everything black, we were able to unify a space that was once not unified.
And the unexpected use of pulling that cobalt into the corridor on the ceiling is drawing your eye in that direction, and connecting that to the cobalt on the bar stools is creating unity. So it feels completely cohesive.
Yes.
Mhm.
And when you talk about use of color, you can use really, really bold colors, but look at how sparingly it's used. So it's like drawing your eye to architectural elements. It's used as paint, it's used as art, and then it's used as furniture. So it's not redundant and it keeps your interest. The other thing is your eye bounces. It goes hallway, art, bar stools, art, hallway, right? So the composition is there to support something like this as well. Here's a little bit of a close-up of some of those elements. Again, the graphic black and white, the bold pop. You can see here, this is a hallway of closets, laundry room, their cat room. There's a lot of little elements in here. And so by painting all the doors black, leaving the walls white, we were able to unify it and continue that graphic black and white and really making that blue stand out. Hey.
Talk about a pop of color.
Again, this might not be for everybody, but what an awesome opportunity for some a really cool application of tile. So thank you to the tile installers. They were like, are you sure? And I was like, positive. But it really did turn out in a way that is really dynamic. And because they have a baby on the way, or they had a baby on the way, baby has arrived, we didn't do a shower door. We stuck with a really funky shower curtain and went through a couple options. And when we all saw this, it was like, bingo,
Yeah, and
unexpected pop.
yeah, and color can be a supporting character that's not so permanent too. So you don't have to commit to painting your ceiling blue. You can do a very loud shower curtain that you can change out as you evolve, and then the rest of this space is supported by a monochromatic neutral palette. So it can be there and be just for a temporary piece as well.
And I think that also is another layer of self-awareness, right? So many people are like, oh, as an interior designer, you must be changing your house all the time. I'm like, no, because I found the perfect solution, period. So I'm not moving stuff. They're like, you must move your furniture. I'm like, no, because it's perfect right here.
Yeah.
So like, but some people want to scratch that itch and want to change things out. And so that's self-awareness. So if that's something that's important to you, let's find ways to switch things out that are going to be more accessible than retiling your bathroom every time you get an urge to see something different. I mean, unless, hey.
Unless you wanna, we'll do it.
Here's the other side of that bathroom. The stripes continue, all the walls were striped, the floor was striped. But we did just bring in this really funky piece of artwork that was just saturated in color, right? And so the black and white provide that backdrop, and then there's a close-up of the pendant, which is really cool too. Let's talk about their bedroom. There's the Star Wars. Every room has a little touch of Star Wars. Do you see it on the pillow on the bed? Cute, right? So the wallpaper here is an ombre. If you look at the base molding, it's black, and then it fades to white. The ceiling, and then we found this really beautiful chartreuse and put it in the custom drapery panels on the pillows as well. But we do carry that into the bedroom. Here's a little bit more of a close-up. As soon as I found that pillow, is it like a stormtrooper or something? Yeah, I just knew it was Star Wars. I was like, that's like a storm guy from Star Wars. And my chartreuse sold. They loved it though. And so keeping everything really, really neutral, quirky details like the solid wood hand chair in the window was also a really cool detail. And we carry all of this into their bathroom. Whoa, I know. Gotta call out that artwork of the cats against the wall is their artwork of their cat. So they were like, I mean, this is really cool. Cause again, I told you they love their cat. And I was like, give it to me. Let's figure out where we can put it. So some really unexpected use of color in here, but please also notice a ton of that black and white continuing. The only color is that chartreuse that goes on the ceiling and down that little column to the left there. Everything else is black and white besides the cat artwork. And so really knowing when to use color to sometimes using it more sparingly will make a bigger statement, right? Versus the first one we saw where there was a ton of color, but it was really balanced. And this one, it's like everything's black and white and then color, right? So again, when using black and white, changing up the pattern. So you can see the tile is vertically stacked. And then on the back wall, you have that black and white, and we chose to install it on a diamond so that it contrasted the grid, right? But then I don't know if you noticed, but the shower entry and the reflection in the mirror is an arch. So just like some quirky details. Also, their towel hooks were hands. Why not? Loved it. Quirky details everywhere. And we told you baby was on the way. So baby deserves a cute nursery. So space in Star Wars, right? So again, really cool, bold patterns in the floor and also in the use of the stars. We drew, this is a wallpaper, so it's a white, the room is painted white, but then we had this custom wallpaper made and installed it on an angle like that, just to kind of create like this night and day vibe. And then the 3 pieces of artwork over the changing table are vintage Star Wars posters. And then the mobile that is over the crib in the star area are planets.
Yes, and that is such an unexpected little pop of color in a space that is really monochromatic, using mostly blacks and whites.
Tons of, really funky little moments here. It still feels like a nursery. We have our baby Yoda pillow. We have a pig. This was something they had previously. I was like, why can't a pig be in space? It can.
It can.
And it would be really cute up in space. But it is, again, showing that the black and white could be softened. Like most people would be black and white in a baby's nursery, and it is softened. It is edgy, but it's them. It's authentic to them.
And so what do we see happening in trend? This example can be interpreted in unexpected pops of color. We're all familiar with painting that one accent wall, a pop of color, but this is really rooted in history as color being something that is emboldening to us. So in World War II, women were encouraged to wear really bright red lipstick. It was a sign of strength and defiance. It gave them permission to be loud in a way when they didn't have to speak it. And so we're seeing that being evolved in design, in the design world as well. So right now there is a trend called the unexpected red theory. This essentially means that you can take a space, any space that feels not quite right, add a pop of red in there, and it creates cohesion and balance. I think that's a cool concept, but my gut tells me that it could live a little bit stronger if it was unexpected color theory. So you're getting a dopamine hit by implementing some sort of color that you love into your space in an unexpected way, giving yourself permission to be bold, whether you're painting a door frame, bright lime green, the front of a tread of your stairs, a color all the way up, maybe an ombre color, or you're just putting a small accessory that's a very bright color in your space to bring you joy. So you're giving yourself a little snack as you enter into your home, and it's a treat every time you see it. So color is dopamine, it's emotional.
Love.
Thanks.
All right, call it a fungalow. We're going back into my house. So this is my basement. I wanted to redo my basement since the moment we purchased this house. And it definitely was something, it's so hard to work on your own home, you guys, I'm telling you. So I walk myself through the same process we walk clients through. And so, yes, I told you when I was little, I've always loved peacocks, but if you asked me what my favorite color was, purple. So much so that my nieces would call me the purple dinosaur. Duh. Like when we were like all playing dinosaurs when they're little, she was pink, blue, and I was always the purple dinosaur. So I always say my favorite color is purple. And so moving into this space, we did a lot of this aubergine purple and balanced it with this navy blue. But you guys, I told you, I love black and white graphics, so that didn't go anywhere. So this space was definitely something that I wanted it to feel like you entered a speakeasy. It was unexpected. It was something that felt special. to be a part of. I definitely left my ceiling open, and it's actually navy blue. Perhaps here's a better image of it. But to have all of the wainscoting and walls all be this aubergine, and then did the ceiling blue. And I think one of the fun ways to kind of incorporate, well, actually, before I even switch the slide, look at all this black and white. Look at that wallpaper.
Mhm.
So cool. Black and white, black and white, black and white. Again, might not be your cup of tea, but this is something that, again, I have my own house to do all my crazy ideas in, and I sure do. But going down into the basement, you can see there's funky uses of neon signs. This is my husband's grandparents' antique dresser that we were able to utilize in the space, which was really fun. Moving into some of the accents, one of the side tables there is a cylinder with black and white stripes, which we then stack books and then have a black planter that's actually a monkey with a gold tooth. Why not, you guys?
I mean.
And then we balance it with the black and white planters above. Again, this is where I want to have the dopamine hit, things that make me happy, and I giggle when I see them. This, though, is one of my favorites, is the bathroom. So use of color can obviously come from art, but wallpaper is such a strong opportunity to pull in a really funky color. Yes, that's a black toilet. Heck yeah, a black toilet.
It's hidden.
You can barely see it in
Fades
that bottom
away.
corner. The
Yeah.
sconce is over it. That's a toilet below it. It just disappears. But making sure you can see the I-beam I left exposed is purple, and then the ceiling is blue, and really embracing some of the architectural elements that can be considered restrictive in a basement. Embrace it. So color is a really fun way that you can embrace architectural elements. And instead of try to, put lipstick on a pig, you embrace it. You are like, this would be really cool. I'm leaving it exposed. I'm going to paint the I-beam a different color, and it's going to cut right through the bathroom like that and be that purple.
Yeah.
Here's the bar area, and I think this is a really good example of some use of color, is we have the paint color changes on each side. So like I said earlier, all the walls are purple, but then when it gets to the bar area, we did an angular paint stripe. And then the blue turned to the walls turned to blue. The cabinets are blue. That refrigerator, believe it or not, is navy blue. And so it's the Samsung bespoke collection, and there's a really pretty navy blue. But anyways, it all connects together and then goes up into the navy blue ceiling, right? So another angle of that would be you could see that color cutting through the space. And then again, black and white. So even into my light fixture, that globe is black and white with a gold band, and something that I continue to use and is relief and really bold saturated colors, because that feels good to me.
Yes.
Totally different space upstairs than downstairs, but black and white to break up these bold saturated colors.
And you're not feeling like you're in a basement in this space, because the color has allowed you, by taking out from the walls all the way up onto the ceiling, create a larger visual aesthetic. So you're eliminating sight lines. You don't have a white ceiling, which actually can shrink a space and pull it down. And so we call this lovingly color drenching. We are seeing this trend all over the place. This is actually an extension of maximalism. So it's using color in a maximal way. And your space is a perfect example of taking color and fully immersing yourself with it. So you take it from the ceiling, on the molding, down the walls. Color drenching has some really interesting history behind it. So it originated in the UK as a tactic for camouflage. So landowners or homeowners would paint vents and radiators all the same color, the molding, the walls, so that it would just disappear. It was something that you didn't want to see anymore. And now we've seen people take this concept and evolve it in a way that feels very bold and full of personality. And it doesn't have to be dark. It can be light as well. So we're seeing some gorgeous examples of color drenching here where it's really rich. You're seeing jewel tones. You're creating a speakeasy vibe. It's very loungy. It's dark. It's bold. bold, it's intimate. You can use color drenching in the same way with a light pastel or a sandy tone and just paint everything the same color, pull it into the furniture and into the rugs, and then you create something that feels serene and tranquil. So you're using color to directly depict an emotion in your space. These spaces with color drenching feel intimate. They feel like you're in a speakeasy lounge.
Mhm.
It is such a empowering use. It's a tool that you can use in your space to evoke a specific emotion.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right, last case study,
gorgeous.
naturally neutral. We design to our client.
Mhm.
So a little bit about Mark and Renee here. They were building their dream house, new construction. Also, if you've built your own house, custom home, I'm very proud of you. It's a lot of work. And every client who does it is like, whoa, I didn't even know there's so many decisions to make. And we're like, that's why I got you. So this client though, both retired and ready to create their oasis. And so they were both very, very, very connected to nature. And Renee is an avid animal lover. So nature was definitely something that we wanted to capture with the floor to ceiling windows that you can kind of see off in the distance. And with Renee, her ask was, I want every room to feel like an extension of itself, not that every space is different. My house, every space is different. Her house, she wanted it all to be an evolution of the same color palette. Love that, because it's not about me, it's about the client. So we were able to really tap into utilizing a serene color palette, but it is not void of color because material is color. So let's start by looking at their great room. Some really beautiful, awesome opportunities in this space to utilize material as some color opportunity. So walnut was a repeating colorway that we use throughout the home. Every room has a little bit of walnut in it. And so when we started to get into some of the soft goods, you can see the two pillows on the armchair is a cognac leather. And then you can see some of that warmth continued into the accessories on the coffee table. So again, your eye balances and it jumps between the beams, the walnut, the pillows, the accessory. And so it's a nice, subtle extension. Also utilizing greenery, bringing nature in.
Yes, you took the thought exactly. This is a perfect example of using greenery as a color. So it's the only technical traditional color we're seeing in this space, but we're allowed to break the bounds of the palette and use the marble and the wood as part of our color story.
Agreed. Here's a little bit of a close-up of some of those details, utilizing the warmth and wood. So we had white oak and then we had this walnut color. So two different tones of wood that we kept carrying through. And whenever we had an opportunity for some marble, we brought that in as well. Stone, you can see this image to the right. You can see the front door and that the front facade of the home is stone, and it continued into the space and it creates the perfect backdrop for that greenery in that vase. So it is very subtly using texture from nature. The other thing I want to call attention to is that bottom right, that leather chair. I know it's looking a little gray, but it's actually a really beautiful seafoam green. And again, we went ahead and used awesome showrooms here at the Design Center for a majority of these pieces. But that beautiful green, she's like, this is it. Like we were looking at color. She's like, I want color, but I was like, okay, I see what you're gravitating towards. This is Mark's office, custom desk, that marble centerpiece popping through the middle, just beautiful. The walls in here are actually called Cheating Heart, I believe, which is like a deep blue. So like really, really subtly calling in. This again was the same color palette we'd used in other parts of the house, but we turned up the dial in here to make this a little bit more moody and pull in some more of those blue opportunities. But you can see, again, the focus on the windows in every single room. as well in the connection to nature. And you can see how the greenery pulls those two things together. One of the things we worked with this client was switching out her accessories. So as the seasons change, she has accessories she switches out for fall, maybe some more dried florals, some more twigs, some more rust colors. So as the outside and the inside come together, or as the seasons change, the outside and the inside reflect each other. You're not in the middle of winter with a palm tree staring at you. And if you want that, good for you. Moving into the dining room a little bit more specifically, again, you can see that walnut. We have this custom walnut table made. We have the beautiful moss green, and we have the floor to ceiling windows, again, pulling that in. Bedroom. This is really the piece de resistance. She loved this space.
Like a warm, frothy cappuccino. And this is color drenching as well in a way. So you've got the molding and the walls creating that same concept.
Agreed. Almost we don't like to put people in a box. So we'll definitely speak to that in just a moment here, but 100% accurate. This is also a beautiful opportunity to see how that green, that like really beautiful deep sea foam green showed up in the custom bedding, the accent pillow, and the artwork. So it bounces through, and it's a subtle use of green, and there's even some of that in the area rug. Here's a little bit of a closer take of those pillows and the custom bedding, and you can see hopefully that green a little bit better now that she was really gravitating towards. Here's the opposite side. Again, that artwork is literally that greenish color. And then on the stripe of the pillow, there's that subtle green. So it really is naturally neutral, right? There's definitely a connection to the indoors and outdoors, but utilizing greenery in a way that feels in line. So
yes. Yeah. Naturally neutral is the exploration of new neutrals. So we have the birth of minimalism in the 90s, and this is where neutrals were really the star of the show, but it's very pared back. So we really only saw soft layer neutrals, maybe a little bit of black included in that as well. With seasonless color, you're seeing the pull of nature. So the biophilic hypothesis states that the connection that people have with their built environment is real, it's innate. So you want the outdoors to live in your inside environment. So with this project, we were able to pull marble, the beautiful wood tones in, and that was part of the palette. So you're creating seasonless color through the use of texture, and you're empowering your palette to be so dynamic that it's not only color in its traditional form.
Love that. And here's some examples of it in the wild. So we used a lot of greens, but here you can see they can actually have some deeper, warmer tones all pulled from nature.
It's neutrals evolution. So you have tinted neutrals. You have a little bit of color pulling in. Color can now be a neutral. Dark green is a neutral. It can be something that supports a more traditional palette of neutrals as we had known them before. And so trend, you've seen a lot of examples of here, but what we want to reiterate is that you don't have to be defined by them. You can be educated by them. They're around us all the time. They serve as inspiration, but none of you are one thing only. Our spaces can be a beautiful combination of a lot of different trends. Every project you've seen here, we can say was a multitude of different trends. So use them to empower you. Be authentic to yourself and know that you don't have to be defined by any one thing. You can make your space a unique expression of yourself.
Because authenticity is timeless.
Exactly.
If you really love something, do it. And don't worry about what others will say. And if you do pick things that are in alignment with your likes, you're going to like them longer. So we like to say your authenticity is timeless. And just like me, be brave enough to be boldly you. Make your peacock room. Do the things that you love, incorporate them into your space. And when you need a partner, you know where to go. We are here to create space that becomes you. We will be your partner and help you identify what it is, building up that self-awareness, and then creating space and really being able to step into your full authenticity. And my friends, color is the best way to do that.